Normally, when the act of the police leads to someone's death, it causes an uproar and societal change to the way the police work. This was seen with the George Floyd case in the USA, which started the BLM movement, and the Sarah Everard case in the UK, which highlighted how corrupt many members of the Metropolitan Police were. However, this case may just be one where the police really did get away with murder. So get comfy, grab yourself a mocha as we unravel the case of Kaysera Stops Pretty Places. Kaysera Stops Pretty Places was a young 18-year-old woman who belonged to the Crow Reservation in Bighorn County, Montana, and was part of the Northern Cheyenne, Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara nations. She was known among friends as a social woman known for speaking out against wrongs and injustice against her community. In the summer of 2019, she was looking forward to taking a trip with her family to North Dakota to visit more relatives, but sadly, she would never make it. Just days before the trip, Kaysera filmed and uploaded a video of local law enforcement officers beating her 15-year-old brother who used a wheelchair at the Crow Fair. The police had no official report on this ever happening, and they said that the young man was resisting officers' orders, so the use of force was justified. On August 24, 2019, Kaysera was living with her grandmother, Yolanda Frazier, in Hardin, Montana, but she didn't return home that night. Despite Yolanda reaching out to the police and explaining how unlike it was Kaysera to not return or communicate with her about her whereabouts, no police report or missing persons report was ever filed. No alert was issued. The police department effectively left Yolanda to her own devices, despite the credible evidence that something was wrong. On August 25th, Kaysera's aunt, Percilia Brown Bulltail, also tried to report her missing, but was told that there was a mandatory waiting period before police would file such a report, which is not the law in Montana. Only days later, on August 29th, Kaysera's body was discovered by a jogger lying face down in a pile of tree trimmings behind several homes in a residential neighborhood, but it would be weeks before law enforcement would identify her body to her family. On September 1st, Kaysera's mother, Geraldine Bulltail Stops, and her aunt, Percilia, go to Bullis Mortuary to see if the body is Kaysera's, and they're told that it isn't her. By the time Kaysera's family was actually notified of the positive identification of her body on September 11th, she had been dead since August 26th. Just one day after her family tried to report her missing. Despite her family being tipped off multiple times about the possibility of the body being Kaysera, her family was not allowed to make the identification prior to September 11th. County Coroner Terry Bullis, who happened to own and operate a local mortuary and act as its funeral director, insisted that Kaysera's body must be cremated before it could be returned to her family. Neither of Kaysera's legal guardians, her father, Alan Stops, and her grandmother, Yolanda, were notified of this fact. Only her mother, Geraldine. She is told by Terry Bullis that Kaysera's remains had to be cremated to be returned to the family. At this point, Kaysera's remains were still at the Montana Department of Justice Crime Lab in Billings, Montana. The family wants Doll Funeral Home in Billings to handle the funeral arrangements. However, Bullis, acting either in his coroner role or funeral director role, makes the family use his funeral home and immediately orders Kaysera's cremation before other family members can arrive in Hardin. Grace and Cedar Bulltail, maternal aunts to Kaysera, arrive at Bullis Mortuary after Bullis speaks with Geraldine and accepts payment from her. Bullis, assumed to be acting in his role as coroner, tells Kaysera's aunts that the date of her death is August 26, 2019. On September 12th, Kaysera's grandmother and father, along with other family members, attempt to visit the site where Kaysera's body was found, but cannot find the site because there's no crime scene tape where the body was found. 2 days later, on September 14th, Yolanda, Alan, and other family members find the site with the help of relatives who live across the street from where Kaysera's body was found. They are shocked to find that the location is highly visual and in an extremely high-traffic area. They gain permission to access the site to perform a cultural ceremony. While there, they speak with the neighbor, Jason Cummings, who found Kaysera's body, who said he watched the police remove Kaysera's phone from her pocket and he told them to charge it so they could find her family, but the police never did this. Mr. Cummings said he also questioned the officer as to why the scene was not secured, but was met with the cold shoulder. After realizing that the police, at the very least, was not handling Kaysera's case properly, Yolanda reaches out to Deputy Attorney General Melissa Schlichting, requesting information on the missing person report for Kaysera, and is informed that Montana does not have a waiting period for a missing persons report, that a person 21 and under is considered a child case and should be listed as a priority. She was not told until several weeks later that Kaysera was never a missing child and there is no record of her in the missing persons database. On September 16th, Yolanda goes to Bullis Mortuary for Kaysera's visitation and finds that her remains are not there. Bullis' sister say they will arrive in 45 minutes. When they don't arrive, they're told that her remains may not be there for the funeral the next day and that they are closing soon at 4 p.m. The family refuses to leave, forcing the mortuary to stay open over an hour late, waiting for the ashes to arrive. Kaysera's ashes finally arrive at 5:30 p.m. Yolanda and her son Alan were not notified by Bullis in his capacity as the county coroner nor as a mortician regarding the arrangements or decision to cremate Kaysera, despite Yolanda being Kaysera's legal guardian and Alan being her biological father. After Kaysera's visitation service, Bullis tells the family that the autopsy report would take another 3 to 4 weeks and then proceeds to tell them that when the toxicology report arrives, it will show there is drug or alcohol use detected, that the cause would be exposure to alcohol or substance. He also informs the family that Kaysera's death certificate will be pending until the report is received. The family decide to contact the local paper after noticing there was no media coverage regarding the finding of a body or that it was Kaysera. They call a Billings Gazette reporter, Juliana Sukkot. Miss Sukkot apologizes, saying that the sheriff's department did not tell them about finding a body or that an identification had been made, even though the Gazette calls daily for updates. On September 19th, Yolanda, Alan, and other family members meet with the investigating officer, Captain Mike Fuss of the Bighorn County Sheriff's Office, after numerous attempts to meet with him. Captain Fuss is confused as to who they are. He thinks they are there wanting to talk regarding a cell phone that has been found near the site. Yolanda introduces herself as Kaysera's legal guardian. Yolanda informs him that she has a copy of her guardianship papers to give him and asks if Priscilla gave him any documentation. He deflects the question by saying that Priscilla said that she's Kaysera's mother. When asking why he never contacted, met with them, or returned their numerous phone calls, he said that he'd been busy with his other cases and that's why he hadn't returned the family's phone calls. When asked why the site wasn't secured and taped off, he said that if the investigating officer gets to a crime scene first, they don't have to secure it. It's only when the police show up before the investigator that the police must secure the crime scene. When the family asks why no one charged Kaysera's phone and turned it on, he is surprised that they even knew about it and said that the battery was dead. The family said that they could have charged it and looked at her recent communications. He said that they couldn't get into that kind of phone. Even the FBI can't break into that type of phone. Yolanda and Alan sign a release of information form of Kaysera's cell phone and social media accounts. Fuss tells Yolanda that he had taken over for the first investigator, Jeremy Middlestead. Apparently, Jeremy Middlestead is the officer that was seen in the video beating Kaysera's brother. When asked why he took over the investigation, he said because Middlestead couldn't handle it. Fuss went on to say that Terry Bullis had snatched the body from the crime lab and that he had to get it and take it back, which explains the defensive remark made by Bullis' sister on the day of the visitation that the body had to be taken back to the crime lab by police escort. Fuss appeared angry when the family told him that they had put out a $5,000 reward for any information. During this meeting, Fuss was also insinuating that she had died from alcohol poisoning and had died in the spot that she was found. He also stated that the body was found at 6:43 p.m, but the newspaper said she was found in the morning. Local police blamed Terry Bullis for removing Kaysera's body from the crime lab several times before full investigations could have been conducted, potentially destroying crucial evidence. So, what do you think about this case? Was Kaysera a victim of police corruption and brutality? Or is this all just one big coincidence? Don't forget to subscribe so you're notified on my next true crime case. And like the video if you really did like the video. Also comment down below your thoughts on this case, along with any others you would like me to cover. It could be my next one.